All right. Hey guys, so I wanted to explain very briefly the flow of blood through the heart, right? So we know that um, the veins will bring blood toward the heart, that deoxygenated blood toward the heart, whereas arteries will take that oxygenated blood and go away from the heart. Okay? So I wanted us to look at the flow of blood through the heart here. So on the right side over here, I just drew, regular cartoon heart, right? And so the way how I think of a heart, so if we look at it this way first, maybe you'll understand the complex version of it, right, on the left side a little bit better. So let's do the right side first, right? So it'll be 2 floors, 4 rooms, right? That's how I think of the heart, okay? The 2 top floor are going to be the atria, right? So you have the right atrium and the left atrium. The 2 bottom rooms are going to be the right ventricle and the left ventricle, right? And so how does blood get in, right? Blood always travels from the top floor to the bottom floor, okay, whenever it's in the heart, okay? So blood will enter the heart via the superior, the inferior vena cava, or the coronary sinus, right? So let's just say blood enters the heart. It enters it via this right atrium, okay? And remember, it's going to stay on one side. Blood is typically going to stay on one side when it's flowing, when it enters the heart, okay? So, enters the heart at the right atrium. It goes through these little trap doors in the floor to get to that right ventricle. These trap doors in the floor and the right side of the heart are going to be called the AV valves, right? Or the right AV valves. Particularly, these are called the tricuspid valves, okay? So blood goes from the right atrium, travels through the tricuspid valves to get to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it goes to the lungs, okay? Blood will go to the lungs from the right ventricle. And from the right ventricle, right, it goes to the lungs to get oxygenated. It comes back to the heart, right, via the left atrium. So now blood enters the left atrium, and remember it's going to stay on one side. So blood, to get from the left atrium to the left ventricle, it has to go through another set of trap doors. However, these trap doors are going to be the left, bring this over, the left AV valves, right? These are going to be called the bicuspid valves, okay? Also called the mitral valve, okay? So blood goes from the left atrium to the left ventricle, right? And from the left ventricle, then the blood then goes to the body, okay? So that's how you get into the heart from the body, right? And back to the body. So now that we see it in that simplified version of it, right? Let's now look at it in this image that we have over here. So let's erase this, okay? So the image right here shows us really the flow of blood because of these arrows, right? So let's look at this right here, right? Blood enters the heart via the superior, the inferior vena cava, as well as the coronary sinus, right? They'll all enter the heart right there, okay? At the right atrium. So blood enters the heart at the right atrium. Blood flows from the right atrium through the tricuspid valve to get to the right ventricle. Blood will then flow from the right ventricle to the pulmonary trunk via the pulmonary valve, okay? From the pulmonary valve, it goes through the pulmonary trunk to leave the heart via the pulmonary arteries to go to the lungs. So we have the left pulmonary arteries and we have the right pulmonary arteries, okay, for that blood to get oxygenated. When that blood is oxygenated and it comes back, it enters the heart via the left pulmonary veins and the right pulmonary veins. You can't see them because they're behind. But blood re-enters the heart from the lungs at the left atrium. Okay? Blood will enter the heart at the left atrium. It will then travel down the left atrium through the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve. Okay? To get to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it goes through this aortic valve, right? Goes up the ascending aorta, goes to the aortic arch, and eventually to the rest of the body. Okay? That's how blood flows through the heart. So there's 4 valves in the heart, right? You have the AV valves, right? So let's write over here. You have the AV valves, okay? Those AV valves are going to be these right here, right? So it's going to be the right and the left AV valves, right? You're going to have the tricuspid valve, and you're going to have the bicuspid valve. Bicuspid is also called the mitral valve, right? And these valves, these AV valves, right, is where blood travels from atrium to ventricle. Okay? So remember that. And we also have, right? We also have these semilunar valves, which is the aortic valve, right? And the pulmonary valve, right? So these are the semilunar valves, okay? And these semilunar valves, right, are important because these are the valves, right? So let's write them out first, right? You have the pulmonary valve, all right? And you have the aortic valve, okay? These valves are important because this is where blood exits the heart, okay? Notice how blood enters the heart always at an atrium, right? Blood enters the heart at atriums, okay? Blood leaves the heart from a ventricle, all right? From a ventricle, all right? So that just is the simple flow of blood through the heart, okay?